What's up, everybody? Welcome to Under the Arch Sports. I'm Eric Hobbs.
And I'm David Woldingen.
And today we're going to preview Mizzou's matchup against Abilene Christian University. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and find us on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. And so, David, Mizzou returns home after a game against Kansas State that can only be described as rough.
No doubt. It was very hard to watch, period. But on the upside, with who we have coming in town, now is the perfect time to actually make adjustments, especially now knowing that you're going to be struggling most of the season with your offensive line. Maybe change your play calling a little bit to counteract what you saw against Kansas State.
Yeah, it's a perfect opportunity, as you said. Abilene Christian coming in. The FCS, they are 2-0 with wins against Prairie View, A&M, and Lamar. They wear purple. They're called the Wildcats. Frankly, that's the extent of our analysis about Abilene Christian because, not trying to disrespect them, but if this game's close, there are serious problems. So this video is honestly more about what we want to see Mizzou do and work on in this game. And David, I think it starts with the offensive line.
Yeah, as you saw last week, they couldn't open holes for the running game. Quarterback constantly on the move, on the run, or on his back. Couldn't get the ball out quick enough. You have to design your offensive plays now, knowing that the offensive line is not going to hold up. So what that looks like are those quick pitches to the outside and fast slant plays and quick out routes and things like that.
Yeah, it's something where there's not a whole lot that can be done in terms of improving, from one game to the next, aside from maybe getting Connor Tollison more experience, the freshman. That's really it. On the other hand, this is a game that should be well in hand by halftime. I think it's a perfect opportunity to have Armand Membo out there. He had some snaps against Louisiana Tech at right tackle. I'd like to see him get some extended experience. Maybe even Valen Erickson and Tristan Wilson. A lot of times you hear offensive linemen need a year to really develop their bodies. They need to be ready next year by the looks of the offensive line. So I'm not opposed to just throwing them out there in garbage time against an FCS opponent. I feel like that's the one time you can get their feet wet. And remember, 4 games before you burn a red shirt. So there's no penalty in that regard. I see nothing but upside in terms of playing them.
Yes, and while you're talking about that, I would also include throwing Sam Horn out there at least for 2 quarters. I know Drip says he's not ready, but with Brady Cook's quarterback play, quite frankly, give the guy a shot out there. One, to get him up to speed and get him used to playing college football, get him some of that experience. And 2, it will give everybody a chance to see how good he really is in a live game. Nobody knows what we have with him. So until they actually see him on the field perform, we're going to be saying, hey, why don't we throw him in there? And if he's touted as a 4/5-star recruit, you need to get him out there. Otherwise, what's the point of having him?
I agree entirely. All of fourth quarter, a good chunk of the third quarter, maybe even after halftime, if the game is going as expected and Mizzou has it well in hand. If he's not going to play in this game, he's not going to play all season, realistically. So I see no reason, especially because Jack Abraham is gone. He's in his 400th year of college football. So he's gone after this year. So at a minimum, Sam Horn is your backup next year, right?
Right.
So you'd rather have him being your backup with at least a little bit of experience, having taken a snap collegiately before. This is the game to do it. If for no other reason that. But, I think most people expected that for the 2023 season, 2022 would be kind of a transition year, and 23 would be when Sam Horn kind of took the keys and controlled the offense. Step one is getting his feet wet in this game.
Well, and I will also say, I could understand Drink not wanting to play him throughout the year, and maybe he was thinking that already because the line wasn't that good, and you don't want to kill your potential star quarterback for upcoming years. So if that's the thought pattern, okay. But at the same time, this is a game you have to get him in so he can get some experience for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't, if the plan is for him to be the guy next year, you can't just find out, all right, well, go get him. We'll find out if you're any good as we go. Get him experience this year and at least start to find out what you got. And if he's not ready, if he's this highly touted recruit and he's not ready to play garbage time against FCS level competition, in my opinion, that's an indictment of the coaching that he's getting.
Yeah, agreed. Now, Eric, on the defensive side of the ball, what do you want to see?
Honestly, I feel like the first two games have been baby steps. They are progressing. I'm not ready to call the defense straight up good, but I think the defense is good enough. They play at a level where you could have expected Mizzou to be like 7-5, maybe, if the offense played at that same level. Obviously, that's not happened, at least in the first two games. I want to see pressure on the quarterback without blitzing, just from the defensive front. I want to see Trajan Jeffcoat, in particular, creating some havoc. I want to see is if Ennis Rakestraw can cover. He got picked on against Kansas State. His days could be numbered. Blanket. Drayden Norwood, that's his name. He could be coming for that starting spot. DJ Jackson as well. Also, Dalen Carnell is the backup safety to Martez Manuel in that starter position. I'm excited to see these guys get reps because Carnell in particular, limited action, he makes plays. He's going to be a dude before it's over. So I want to see them get extended experience. And big picture for the defense, just keep progressing.
Yeah, I mean, I really can't add to that. Honestly, you've covered pretty much everything. I agree wholeheartedly with what you said. And I know last week it's kind of hard to put a thumb on it just because of what the offense showed. When you can't move the ball, you're just going to put your defense out to dry, quite honestly. And that's kind of
the defense had a string of 3-and-outs against Kansas State. Remember, 40 points. 7 of them were on the punt return. And then of the 4 interceptions, they gave up a total of what, like 13 points off of 4 interceptions in 4 straight possessions.
Yeah.
You can't ask for anything better than that.
And you're talking about against a Heisman candidate running back too. So
yes,
they performed as well as you could expect them to perform. And I just keep all I want to see, like you said, is just to continue taking those steps forward.
Because if you look at the box score, Deuce Vaughn had like 145 yards or something like that, but so much of it came in garbage time. He never broke off a run of like 20 yards or more until later in the game. They kept him in check as well as could be hoped for, I think. Moving on to what is normally our predictions. Let's face it, we both picked Mizzou to win. We both picked Mizzou to win big. Instead, today, we're going to talk about what we want to see out of Mizzou, the one thing we want to see. And for me, is something you touched on earlier, David. I want to see the offensive play calling account for the fact that the offensive line does not appear capable of getting a push in the running game. Hardly ever, really. I'd say half or more of the Missouri's rushing yards this season are yards after contact. So I want to see, honestly, I want to see an offense that reminds me of what Josh Heupel did when he was the offensive coordinator under Barry Odom. He knew it couldn't get a push in the running game. So as you mentioned, quick passing game, pitches, get the ball outside of the tackle box so that the play's success is not dependent on the offensive line. creating push as much and as often as possible. I think that's the only way that Missouri's offense can find sustained success heading into SEC play.
And one of the things I would love to see, and I know he's still a freshman, but I'd like to see them get the ball to Luther Burden more. Drink said that he played maybe too much time. He had too many plays out there, and he wanted to limit that a little bit. But my comment is, what's the point? Because you weren't getting him the ball in the first place. If you're going to have a dynamic type playmaker such as Burden and what he's potentially capable of, you have to find ways to get the ball in the hand. In high school, he was a prolific punt returner. Why is he not returning punts?
Especially when Chris Abrams' drain just stands there and watches it bounce down to the 3-yard line every time.
Exactly. These are some of the questions I have. And quite frankly, I'm getting to the point where I want to see Drink hire an offensive coordinator and just let them have the reins, because he's obviously not getting the job done.
How many times did Luther Burden run out of the Wildcat last week? Exactly. How many times did you see Luther Burden get the ball and handoff on a jet sweep last week?
Like, I don't think
exactly. None. It did not happen. That is inexcusable. I'm trying to take over your point, but that's incredible to me. And you are absolutely right that Luther Burden has to get the ball. They have to be creative to get the ball in his hands in space if possible.
Yeah. Otherwise, what's the point of him playing?
And to my point, Luther Burden, his ability is part of the way to get the ball outside the tackle box and make the play less dependent on the offensive line. He's the guy.
Absolutely.
So Luther Burden, get the ball.
Anyway, that's all we have for this week's pregame show for the upcoming Mizzou game. Stay tuned as we continue to do these, and thank you for watching.